All right, so we are back, and today we are talking about the news that just hit from True Jordy over on his channel, The Kickoff, of the rumor now, I guess, being confirmed that KSI is in talks to fight Wayne Rooney. Now, everybody watching this channel knows that name, at least if you're from the UK or you've tuned into soccer or football at any point in your life. Wayne Rooney is one of the best players to ever come out of England, but he's never boxed, at least not in any professional or amateur sense that I know. So what I want to talk about today is KSI and why he's in the toughest position in influencer boxing that I don't know that anyone knows how to get him out of. Because this could potentially do fantastic business for Misfits Boxing, but it's not the fight KSI needs because it's not competitive at all and doesn't do a lot for JJ's one word that he stands by, his legacy. What do I mean? The breakdown. Let's go. All right, so let's take a listen to what True Jordy had to say about this fight, because he's the first one reporting this. He is a part of Misfits Small Council, privy to some information that most of us won't have. So let's see what my guy Jordy said about this fight, and let's just lay it out on the table, and we'll go from there.
As mental as it sounds, that's why it would be massive. On the one hand, you've got the biggest YouTuber in Britain who's coming off the back of a very close fight.
This face of Tommy Fury is terrifying. It looks AI generated. It looks like Mystery Machine and the Scooby-Doo gang are about to rip his face off and reveal the actual face underneath.
Against Tommy Fury, who KSI showed a lot in that fight. And then on the other hand, you've got one of the greatest footballers the UK has ever produced, one of the most decorated. He was England's record goal scorer for a long time. He's won everything in the game outside of a World Cup. And apparently, early on in his life, he was a very gifted boxer. I've heard this a lot.
We're going to come back to this, but do you hear the accolades for both? KSI going toe-to-toe with Tommy Fury, him being on this, comeback arc of getting to Jake Paul or whoever at the top of this scene, beating them and becoming the king of influencer boxing, becoming the best at this. Then we go to Wayne Rooney and his accolades, which are super impressive, and again, will do massive business for Misfits Boxing if he is brought into the fold. He's one of the biggest stars in professional soccer in England. Again, I'm saying soccer. You guys know what I mean. Don't kill me in the comments. So yeah, I get it. On a business end, I get checking all the boxes that Wayne Rooney does. Big time star. People everywhere know him. You'll sell out. You'll do numbers on pay-per-view. And then you go to that one big square, and maybe not the most important one, but definitely an important one. And that is, can he box? Has he boxed? Does he have any experience, actual experience? And that answer, as we're about to find out, is no.
I've heard this a lot, and it was a choice between do we go football or boxing, and obviously he was more gifted at football, but by all accounts, Wayne Rooney is not a bad boxer and is a pretty handy fighter. And I guess we're going to find out, right? Because at 38, there's not loads of years left for him. If he's going to be competitive in this, he needs to be sparring right now. He needs to be training really hard now, and I'm sure...
See, that's the thing. I got to disagree with Jordy here, right? He's trying to talk about all the things that he's heard word of mouth about Wayne Rooney. But then at the very end of that, he talks about, one, that he's 38 years old and has never fought anyone in any ring professionally. And I don't know if there's even any amateur experience, but says, well, all accounts that I've been told that say he was a good boxer as a kid. He could have gone and chased that. And okay, I'll believe you. I can't really dispute any of those things. But what I can say is the last part of this whole topic that Jordy touches on at the end is, he doesn't have a lot of time, and he needs to start sparring and training, and that's where he's wrong. If he was going to beat KSI, he needed to have already done those things. Rooney should have already had this sparring and training and fighting experience, because you're not just stepping in with an influencer or a YouTuber doing the same thing you're doing, learning the sport. No, JJ has already developed in his own way. Is he the best boxer in the world? No. Is he the best boxer in influencer boxing? No. But his game has been developed through fights to a level now where Wayne Rooney, who is just now starting to spar and train at 38 years old, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's completely out of shape. I only assume playing soccer as long as he did, he has to have some residual injuries in his knees and his feet, and he's probably not a spry 38, if you get what I'm saying. So honestly, the time to get in training and make this thing competitive isn't at 38 when you've been essentially not training, at least seriously, for the last, 30 years? And again, I'm not trying to sound, like I'm shitting on this entire idea of Wayne Rooney being a part of Misfits. It's just because, like I said, business-wise, Jordy is right. It will do ridiculous numbers, and it'll sell out, and people will be invested, and I would be invested in the pre-fight build. I'll be invested in them talking back and forth. One thing that I just can't get invested in is thinking this fight is any way competitive. I said this responding to this video on Twitter. KSI is going to viciously KO Wayne Rooney if they step in anytime. This year, next year, whenever. The time for Wayne Rooney to be competitive with a guy like KSI or anybody at the top of this scene is gone. And that's kind of where my sticking point is, because I don't fault Misfits for trying to bring Wayne Rooney in or make a big event or make the fight with KSI. I don't blame them. They're a business at the end of the day. They're trying to make money and put on entertainment for you guys that also involves boxing. And if everyone is on the same page, knowing what we're getting out of this, that KSI is going to absolutely smash this guy, and call it what you want. Maybe it's, knocking the rust off after the loss to Tommy Fury, getting him back in there, getting him back in shape, then okay. But me, personally, I like fights to be competitive, and this won't be that. Again, this is where I disagree with Jordy. No matter how much boxing he did as a child, no matter how many times people tell you he was a good boxer as a child, there is no evidence out there, at least that I've seen, that he's kept up a similar regimen, that he's kept himself in fighting shape, that he's kept his muscle memory to even do this, or that he's actually sparred and fought enough to understand what that actually feels like. And again, we're not talking about a 20-year-old YouTuber trying to do this for the first time and learning in 6 to 8 to 9 months. You're talking about a 38-year-old man that's not done this ever in an actual fight, but even trained it consistently. Hard sparring, cardio, losing the weight that apparently he still has on his body. You just can't get around him. So again, if we're all on the same page that this isn't in any way competitive, I'll watch it, and I hope that Misfits does great business with it. This isn't a takedown of Misfits video at all. It's just I understand the position that KSI is in and why it is so tough for him, because he's not just an influencer anymore. He's a guy with training and experience. You can't put him in there with just anyone. And people like Wayne Rooney that KSI may be potentially interested in fighting, they check all of the right boxes. They got a big following. They got fans. They'll sell out. The pay-per-view will be immaculate. They'll do an entertaining build-up, but that big one at the end is left blank because they can't fight. And maybe, for my Southern people, a trophy mount, right? Like, you go and kill the biggest game, like KSI goes out and beats one of his heroes potentially, or one of the people he may have looked up to as a kid, and you can check that off the bucket list. But in my opinion, not JJ's or anybody else's, just mine, it won't serve what I thought and I still think he's actually trying to do. More on that in a second. And by the way, for those of you that think that I'm just saying things and I'm not actually giving the benefit of the doubt to a guy like Wayne Rooney, who again is tough, right? He's talked about for years as being one of the tougher guys on the pitch. And again, according to Jordy, that he trained as a kid and had some buzz about him as a boxer. All those things can be true, but so is the footage. And the only footage that I have of Wayne Rooney actually being in somewhat of a spar. Now, do I invest everything into this and say this is what Wayne Rooney is as a boxer? No, but it is telling. So let's take a look. Wayne Rooney in the black here, in the black shirt. He's fighting, he's sparring a buddy in his house. I'm assuming there's a couple of drinks involved at this point when you're starting to put the gloves on and spar in someone's house. But anyway, they separate. Already, I don't like this. Because again, poking your lead hand out at someone takes experience. It takes experience to understand why you're doing it and what you're doing. So Rooney's showing him the lead hand, right? Maybe trying to gauge distance, but also just doing it and waving it around. And already we get a little bite on a feint from an overhand. But the bite on the feint isn't the protection you want to see Wayne Rooney display. You see the feint. Immediately, hand goes down, nothing to cover his chin, right? He's trying to use that backhand to maybe parry, but you're not parrying something that KSI throws like an absolute missile off his back foot. And this would go directly from ground zero to the moon landing on his chinny chin, dude. That would be a haymaker. Game changer. Knockout city. It's not just because KSI hits hard, but also because of what happens next. He gets dropped with a jab. Again, I know there's alcohol involved here, and you can maybe say he got caught off balance, but it's a clean jab down the middle, catches him, and he goes night-night. I don't know how he didn't hit his head on whatever that thing is. Okay, looks like his legs are fucking seizing. It's just not what you want to see for any boat of confidence for a guy that KSI is about to fight. Again, I'm not trying to make this out like KSI is Triple G or Canelo. It's not that. He just has more training, experience, and time being in there. And he's not 38. And he isn't coming off a 20-something plus year career as a soccer player. There's so many things that make this fight profitable, right? It makes money. But in my opinion, it doesn't make sense. And the reason for that, at least for me, is because what KSI has said about what he wants to do in this season. Because here's the scenario, right? KSI and Wayne Rooney fight. I'm invested in the pre-fight build, right? The back and forth. Hey, you used to be my hero. but I'm going to put you to sleep. You're coming into my world now. I run Misfits Boxing. You're not the star here. I am. And your days are numbered. All that stuff I'm down with. And Wayne Rooney being like, listen, you're going to be seeing more stars than when you watched me on TV as a kid. I'm telling you right now, you know, whatever it is, they're going back and forth. I'm in for all that, right? The entertainment will be amazing. They'll do crazy numbers on YouTube, on their pay-per-view. In the stadium itself, people will be buzzing, and then they get to the weigh-ins. Wayne Rooney comes out there and maybe shocks everybody. Former athlete, so he knows how to get back in shape, and everybody's riding with him, and then KSI would get on that scale. He'd throw his arms up and he'd flex, right? He'd do the whole thing. He'd maybe even turn around and show the back muscles, because, you know, when KSI starts lifting and getting in that boxer mode, the ego starts going. So he'd turn around, maybe hit an Arnold back pose, and we'd all see the reason, in my opinion, this fight doesn't make much sense. It's that word on KSI's back. Legacy. And again, this is why I empathize for KSI. I don't envy him, because it's a tough spot to be in. What does legacy mean to KSI? Does it mean beating Wayne Rooney? Because if that's the case, okay. Does it mean putting on massive fights and having these entertaining spectacles that aren't necessarily competitive, but they do great business? He gets a massive knockout and a win, and everybody in the UK is buzzing about it, then yeah, okay, let's do it. Sign the deal. We're all on the same page. We all know what we're getting out of this. I'm down with it. But if it truly is and always was to come back and establish himself as the best, not just the best seller, the best promo, the best pay-per-views, but the best fighter in influencer boxing, Wayne Rooney just doesn't do that. Again, there's only one guy that checks every one of the boxes KSI wants. It's Jake Paul. So me personally, am I excited about this fight? No. Am I excited about KSI coming back and fighting and being on Misfits? Absolutely. But for the first time since maybe Joe Fournier, I'm not excited about the fight itself. Because to me, outside of the entertainment, which is going to be great and all that, it's just not competitive. And maybe I'm wrong when I say this, but I think JJ's whole entire life has been about proving people wrong. You know, JJ, if you're watching, or if anybody else is, I don't mean this in a hating or disrespectful way. I just want to see what legacy really means. And I don't know if this is even possible, but I do have a way to make this potentially work a little better. Because Misfits is right for wanting to bring Wayne Rooney in. They're absolutely right. He is a massive name over there, and he could do a ton of business for them if it's just one fight or maybe two. But why not? If it's possible, and I don't know that it is, I'm kind of spitballing here, why not bring him in? Former soccer player, former big-time name in the UK. He's got a ton of fans out there. What if you brought him in with another soccer player, like a guy that maybe he played at Man U. Maybe this guy played at Man City. Or is there like a beef, a rivalry between Wayne Rooney and another soccer player that wants to box for a good amount of money that people would know, a big-time star? I could just be talking about a person that doesn't exist. I don't know that, but that would make more sense to me, because then there's a reason to get invested outside of just their names. And seeing them on stage together or seeing them in the ring together is a level of competition that makes you go, hold on a second. Who's going to win this fight? And yes, influencer boxing is entertainment first, but the basis of boxing is competition. What happens when they step in? So yeah, that kind of leaves KSI out on an island, and I hate that, because I don't want that for him. I want him to be successful. I want them to find him something that people can sink their teeth into. I just don't know if this does that. But you guys let me know down below, what do you think? Wayne Rooney, KSI, potentially boxing this year? Again, as long as we're on the same page and we know what this is, KSI fighting Wayne Rooney, big-time event, massive pay-per-view, people interested because of the names involved, but not necessarily because of the fight itself. And listen, I'm down for it. I'll be watching it. I just won't take it as seriously as I would another fight. Because like I said, I think KSI absolutely fucking destroys Wayne Rooney. And it's not even close. But you guys let me know in the comments below, what do you think of KSI fighting Wayne Rooney? Is it the right move for him? Is it the right move for Misfits? These can be two different answers to the same question, but the big one I want to know is, what does it do for his legacy? Because I don't have any of those answers, but if they go through with this, or if they don't, I guess we'll find out.